Alright, hello! Welcome to another video where we are revisiting my top 10 primary weapons video from 2024, and it's finally time for one of my personal favorite weapons, the Trumna, which now has become a Trumna Prime, which is absolutely incredible. This is one of Andrade's weapons, and it is honestly just godlike. It's just a beauty of a weapon. This is one of the LMGs that we have in the game. We have this, we have the Super Vandal, and we have the Queller. Those are the three LMGs that I can remember, at least from the top of my head right now, that we do have in the game. They're all still considered rifles, but they have the LMG feel to them because of their large magazines, their long reload speed, and all that good stuff. So, you know, this one is by far the best one. Queller has an insane outfire as well, but it doesn't match the beefiness and the actual insane damage that you get with the Trumna Prime. It is ridiculous. So the damage per bullet on the Trumna Prime is really nice because you have the initial damage and then you have the small AoE that happens right after. And then the actual outfire radial attack is so incredibly strong that it can genuinely just solo carry the weapon on its own. You could put a really bad primary fire on this weapon and it would still be OP because of the alt fire. It's that good. So we have 3 builds for you today, or I have 3 builds for you today. 2 of them are no Riven mode, and then this one is with the Riven mode. And the best build is whatever suits you and whatever you like to do with a weapon. So the first build is gonna be a build around focused around the alt fire. The second build is going to be a mix between of both, a balanced mix between of both. And the third build is going to be a primary fire build. This one is personally my favorite, but we're going to showcase all of them. So first of all, let's try the Altfire build. This one is focused around dealing blast on its own. Because the Trumna is innately heat, you can get blast by only adding cold. This means that you need to only put primed cryo rounds and you automatically have blast procs. So that's great. Now, Galvanized Aptitude is really nice on this weapon. Not only because, you know, I know it doesn't work on radial damage, that's fine though. The main portion of your damage from your primary fire comes from the impact damage that happens, like the initial impact, so Galvanized Aptitude is really nice. But most importantly, this weapon has a ton of status chance, 34% on primary fire and 50% on alt fire. So 80% status chance is something that really helps this weapon shine, and this is the reason why you want to pick this mode over Serration. And in order to make this mode feel as good as Serration, if not better, you need to run an extra elemental mode, because you have impact, you have blast, and then if you don't have an extra elemental mode here, you have something else, then you're losing 80% damage. Or even a bit less, to be honest, but because we have radial attack, but you're losing a lot of damage because you don't have a mode here like magnetic capacity or radiated reload. So 100% you need one of those 2 modes in the slots, depending on what you like more. If you want more reload speed, then go with radiated reload. If you want more magazine capacity, then go with magnetic capacity. The element itself doesn't matter that much. Magnetic is nice for Eximus enemies, but most of the Eximus enemies will die due to the alt fire, since you're going to be farming the alt fire through normal enemies, and that's gonna be your main goal here. So we have a Contraction Fissure on Uvarium in order to showcase. This is probably gonna run out by the time we get the 3rd build, but hopefully we get a 2nd one as this one runs out. We'll see. So we're going to be using this Wisp for all the builds, but I'm only going to be using the Fire Rate buff and not the Eclipse buff, for the simple reason that as long as you have some sort of fire rate from an external source on this weapon, it is more than enough to actually do your bidding. And the external source can be a Wisp teammate, you on Wisp, or Harrow, or Gauss, or whoever gives fire rate as a Warframe. And if you don't have any of that, then you can simply put Arcane Acceleration on your Warframe. If you're using a build on your Warframe and your build has Molt Augmented, unless your build strictly needs Molt Augmented to reach a specific strength threshold, just like, let's say, Equinox with her nuke build needs 200% strength, unless you need exactly that, then you're fine to take it out and put Arcane Acceleration, and your DPS is gonna be a lot better. 60% strength usually doesn't make or break a build. It really doesn't. I could take Molt Augmented out of this Wisp for Arcane Acceleration, and this would be even better as a build. But regardless of that, we are seeing some incredible blast procs happening from the Altfire, which is why we go blast on this build. We're saving a mod slot, and the Altfire blast procs can hit for a crazy amount. But as you can see, the primary fire itself is not that crazy. It's pretty normal. You know, it can kill the really weak units, but overall, you're kind of chasing for them. And as you can see, when I'm shooting this Jade Light Eximus, I'm not really getting any value, so I gotta switch targets here. And then let my Altfire do the thing, or kill him after my Kavat has armor stripped him. You kind of want to waste your Altfires onto the heavier units for them to do damage. And also make sure to shoot your Altfire close to the ground in front of you so it bounces a lot of times. But yeah. The weapon itself is ridiculous. Even if we're not building for primary fire at all, and we have blast in this build, which is really, really bad for the primary fire, this still deals decent damage as a primary fire build. As a non-primary fire build. Oh, he stole my weapon. You bitch. The Altfire just shreds. It's there's nothing to say about that. It just absolutely shreds. But as you can see, the primary fire versus those Eximus units is kind of struggling with this build. So if you want something more balanced that takes advantage of both, then the next build is probably what you would like to see instead. But I really love the amount of explosions you get from the Altfire on this one. Alright, we have the Guardian Eximus. We gotta focus him because he provides damage reduction to everyone around him. And yeah, in case you guys didn't know, Guardian Eximus units provide 95% damage reduction to everyone around them. They're by far the strongest Eximus, in my opinion. Those and the Shock Eximus units when you get to really high level, because they can one-shot you even through invisibility. Like this guy now we have to focus completely. If we don't, then nobody can die. But yeah, this weapon feels great to use. It has really good damage. It is insane against group of enemies. It has a decent build variety depending on what you want to do, because obviously both firing modes are better on their respective, you know, on their respective damage. And you know, it's really funny because this is an alt-fire focused build, but we're using Galvanized Aptitude. That's for two reasons. First of all, it's a status chance, as mentioned before. But second of all, in order to get the alt-fire, you do need to get the tilts from your primary fire. And your primary fire will deal way more damage when you have Galvanized Aptitude. So a poor sentient enemy spawned directly in front of me when I was shooting my alt-fire, and he kind of just disappeared from the face of the earth, so that was really funny. Anyways, there goes that group of enemies. And let's have an alt-fire for the Acolytes. Stun it. And that kind of shows you how much damage that alt-fire can do, if placed properly. Really fun. He took my weapon again. I'm gonna keep the Altfire for the Thrax units that are coming. More Forma we need. And we're gonna extract and take our next build, which is the more balanced one. On my me. Yeah, if it's not obvious, do not take this build for Void Cascade. You would like to have either the second or the third build for Void Cascade. This is a build you take normally for like long survival missions and all that good stuff, where you have a good mix of squishy and heavy enemies, so you can easily charge your Altfire and then shoot it and do the damage. Obviously, if I added Eclipse, it would look way better, but I don't really need to. overall. So let's get to the second build. This one will be a more balanced build that requires viral heat on the weapon. It has heat innately, but you know, you just mod for viral and then you have enough status chance through your galvanized aptitude and hammer shot mods, and that makes it pretty much enough for your weapon to do crazy damage. As you can see, we have a bit more status chance this time because we are also using Malignant Force instead of the Rifle Elementalist mode we have, but we don't have the Magnetic mode. Because we don't have the Magnetic mode, and because my Raven also has negative magazine capacity, I hate this Raven, by the way, I want to get a new one. I need to re-roll it. But we are down to 185 magazine, and we are gonna be using Deadhead in order to provide ourselves with the negative recoil, because honestly I really want to put Stabilizer here, but I really can't. It also helps a lot with the primary fire to get better stacks because the headshot damage really helps it out. But overall, this is a way more balanced, a way more all-rounder build for the weapon, and even without the Raven mode this would work absolutely perfectly. And if you want to do something that is not a Raven mode, then you would probably go either a Bane mode, or you would go with Vigilante Armaments, or something to deal more damage anyway. You simply need more damage. You can add a heat mode as well. A heat mode would work absolutely perfectly here as well. So Uvarium is down. Wow, there's really nothing. That sucks. Back to Annie we go. I just wanted a survival, man. Why is there no survival in the Fissures? That's what I need. A 5-minute survival Fissure mission to showcase some cool stuff. Why can't I do that? So this build, immediately you will notice, especially because we're running Viral versus Corrupted, the primary fire is so much stronger. The alt fire now had a Kavat buff, so we got red crits as well. But the alt fire deals a tiny bit less damage than the blast one, because the blast procs themselves are dealing like 1.8 to 2 million damage with ease, and they are constantly proccing around an area. So this one is more like a 1 to 2 million damage explosion, direct damage. It's still fine, but it is a good balance between primary and alt fire in this build, for sure. It is a really good balance between those two. The primary fire absolutely shreds here, and the alt fire is still really decent. So this is the build I mainly run on my Trumna because of its effectiveness. The third build is still my favorite because it fully embraces the LMG aspect of this weapon. But this one is still really nice. So, considering all this, would I increase my vote or decrease my position, you know, on the top 10 list for the Trumna? No, not really. It would probably still remain at the number 8 spot. This is still an amazing weapon. This is still a weapon that you can use for any mission whatsoever. This is what I call a daily driver weapon. It is something that you can literally use for anything you play. It has a bit of everything. AoE, single target damage, really good fire, or not fire, really good usability, utility. The only bad things about this weapon is its reload speed and its fire rate, and you can easily fix those. The next build, in fact, does fix the fire rate by quite a bit, so you won't need a wisp or anything. But the reload speed, you will still have to do a workaround by taking your sweet time behind cover or doing something else. Or just thugging it up in case you're a tank. But yeah, as we can see, this this now looks way better. It has obviously to do with viral versus corrupted enemies as well, but if I'm being honest, even if I did Grenier, even if I did anything, this would still completely shred the units. So, not very concerned about that. Look at that. It's still beautiful, the alt fire. And the primary fire, as you can see, the viral procs happen very quickly. You get the 10 very quickly onto enemies. And then the heat procs are hurting on top of the viral procs and your next shots. Your shots, after the virals have been stacked, deal like 400 to 500,000 damage. And then the alt fire does that as well, so it is overall a really nice combo to have on this weapon, Viral Heat. And it's probably what I would suggest people to play if they wanted to try this weapon for the first time. Look at that. That Eximus dies so quickly, it's incredible. Now you may be like, okay, but Salta would just do one alt fire on him, or this weapon would do this on him, but guys, you have to understand something about Warframe. This is a lot of people call this game a horde shooter. At its core, this game is an RPG, and this game also isn't a competitive game at all. You don't need to use the best stuff out there. You're not playing Battlefield, you're not playing like Rainbow Six Siege. You do not need to pick the best character or the best weapon to play this game and have fun. You just need to play what you have fun with, honestly. This is a very casual, very fun game that you just turn your brain off and have fun with the weapons, with the craftsmanship and all that, at least for me. So even if I tell you something like the Stalta is the best weapon in the game, which it is, you don't need to use the Stalta as well. If you find it fun and you also think it's really strong, by all means go do that. This is why I advertise it to you. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to use the Stalta. You might like Trumna more, you might like the Tonkor more, you might like Envoy more, you might like other weapons more. It doesn't really matter. You know? You might even like the Torrid. I judge you for that, but you might like it. And who am I to tell you to not like the weapon, you know? Anyways. Yeah, it landed on Mania again. Poor girl. Let's get out of here. I will showcase now the last build, and the whole yap about this is because I obviously said the last build is my favorite, but the last build is not the best build. This one is by far the best build out of all three. So, final build, a primary fire focus build, and we got Corrosive Heat. Yes, we have in fact Corrosive Heat. We're using Val Acceleration for fire rate, we're using Point Strike, we're using Primary Crux, and we're using Prime Stabilizer. The idea here is very similar to the Viral build, but instead of making the heat procs and the shots do more damage by increasing the percent of damage the enemy takes, we are reducing their armor by using Corrosive, and Corrosive is also, as you can see, very strong against Grineer, Kruva Grineer, and Scaldra, but it's weak to sentient enemies. And we don't really care about sentient enemies here, let's be real. So this is by far the strongest damage per shot element you can use on your weapon, even if you have Viral here. This will result in a better primary fire, but this results in a better alt fire. So essentially, we're maxing out our status chance to get Corrosive and Heat procs as quickly as possible onto the enemies, add a lot of fire rates, add Primary Crux so you can just keep shooting, and then add Prime Stabilizers so that your recoil doesn't go crazy, because the Trumna, one thing it has is some pretty crazy recoil. It has some ridiculous recoil, this weapon, so you gotta work around it. So this build, I will shoot the weapon before the Wisp buff already so you can see. This fire rate is actually really decent. On this build, you don't need Arcane Acceleration. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would still recommend Arcane Acceleration. Fire rate Arcanes in general are by far one of the, like, the strongest DPS Arcanes you can have are fire rate Arcanes. And yeah. Until we stack a bit, there we go. Okay. Now that we stacked, the Meat Grinder. The Meat Grinder is real. So, if you shoot once, you get 6 Corrosive stacks, 4 Heat stacks, and an Impact stack. It's definitely something once you got the stacks going on this weapon and this build. One thing I wish is that you could actually use Puncture on this and it would work nicely, but Puncture doesn't really work well with this weapon. If it did, then I would opt out Val Acceleration for Prime Tread, for that extra AoE from the primary fire, but sadly it's not really good. So, yeah. I tried a lot of things for the primary fire build as well when I was like experimenting with the Trumna, because you have a lot of choices. You can go viral heat like the previous build and just work more into status shunts to benefit the primary fire more. You can also go pure heat without abusing anything, but then you lose an extra element, which means that you lose damage from galvanized aptitude. If you didn't, and if this weapon had decent IPSs and not just impact, then you could go pure heat and that would be absolutely crazy. But the way it is right now, you need to do corrosive heats, and you know, you still have your outfire to use on the big beefy boys, but everything else just kind of melts through the primary fire. Gotta love it. And I haven't reloaded for such a long time, by the way. I'm just holding mouse 1 on enemies and I'm just shooting forever. This is why I love this build. This is why I find this build so fun. We have so much fire rate. I've been shooting for like 2 minutes now and I haven't reloaded a bullet. Look at this. I'm only now starting to run out of ammo. There we go. So after 2 whole minutes of shooting, we finally ran out of ammo in the magazine. And here we go again. This is such a fun build to use on the Trumna. And obviously, especially if you add roar to this because of the heat procs, this is actually shredding. So, you know, now that you've seen a good amount of what it can do, let's add some Eclipse on top of this. I didn't need to reload, I'm just reloading preemptively. Keep shooting. Keep gooning. Actually don't, it's not on November. Keep gooning. It's good for you actually. You're delaying prostate cancer. Keep gooning. Yeah. It's so satisfying to use this. We need more LMGs in this game. Like, don't you agree? We need more LMGs like this. This is so fucking fun. So, the Acolyte is gonna showcase the weakness of this build. Probably, unless the Altfire is so broken that it's gonna one-shot it anyway. We'll try it. Okay, well... close enough. You know what? The Acolyte is not gonna showcase anything. The Altfire is just way too overpowered on the Trumna. Even in this build, that I completely neglected it, pretty much. I did nothing about it. No base damages, no nothing, it just, yeah, it just kinda goes. Holy shit. You love it. You love to see it. The Altfire also has the funny multiplicative CO in case you hit it directly. But I mean, the ball hitting an enemy directly, having multi-CO, is definitely something that you're not gonna abuse a lot. But that does mean that on the first build as well, if you don't mind about the damage being a bit less on your primary fire, you can add Serration directly and make your Altfire even better. instead of magnetic capacity, that is. Dude, I just realized I could have extracted so long ago, but I was just having so much fun just mowing people down with this weapon that I just kept going without thinking about it. That is how fun this weapon is to me. I mean, it's really rare to find good LMGs on this weapon, as we have only pretty much 3, unless I forget one. And this one just works so well. This one just, it feels meaty, it shoots really strong damage per bullets, it has the long ass reload speed and amazing aesthetic. It's also named Trumna, which means coffin in Polish, in case you didn't know. Number 7, for sure. It still remains there, and I don't think it will get out of there unless we see some kind of arcane that buffs this weapon by a lot. Is it still good? Should you still get a Trumna Prime? Yes, absolutely. Just in case you want to give it a try and have fun, absolutely. The next weapon is a weapon that I really love as well, and it's going to be the Barakor, so expect that tomorrow. Before we say anything about the Barakor, I just want to let you know from now, the augment that the Barakor has is absolutely bait. You should not use it. And we'll talk about that tomorrow, but for now, have that thought in mind. Thank you very much for watching another video of mine, and I will see you in the next video.